Hey everybody, welcome to the Faith and Fandom Podcast on the Love Thy Nerd Podcast Network. You can find it on lovethynerd.com, YouTube, the Glue Network at GLU over on Roku and other devices. And we're glad that you're here with us. Love Thy Nerd is your home for nerdy, Jesus-adjacent podcasts and content, everything from the wrestling podcast 2 Words down to all the other things. And we're coming to the end of our podcast season, so I am bringing another professional nerd slash person that I have had the pleasure of meeting over my journey here today. And everybody, this is Nicky Barnes.
Appreciate you having me. I'm excited. I'm definitely a professional nerd, so that's a good title.
You are a professional nerd, and I was just like, I was preaching this morning, and I said, you know, guys, I read comic books every now and again, both professionally and recreationally, and like 99% of my congregation was like, what?
Yeah.
But I like what I've had you on my list to do this forever, people to do, and then like I was like, I had some other plans for this one, but then for the season finale, but then Rosa's like, and for y'all that don't know, Rosa's my 17-year-old daughter. Rosa was saying it's so weird to be at school, and she's at school in Durham at the professional nerd school, and she's like, and people will show me videos with Nicky, and she's like, yeah, I know him. And they're like, how do you know him?
Oh.
She's like, his wife babysat me, and now I babysat his children and the circle of life.
Beyond know them. They are family at this point.
It's like everybody's changed everybody's diapers up in here.
Literally.
But so I've known you, Nicky, for when did you start UNCP?
2009, so
okay, that's what I was figuring. 2009.
15 years. Is that math right?
16.
16? Yeah. Not a math guy.
Yeah. It feels like it's been longer, but I guess that tracks.
It does. I mean, it's because it's been through major phases of life. So
major life phases. But I met Nicky initially through college ministry and connections there, and went through Nicky's whole collegiate career into adulthood. And Nicky is actually on the ground floor of Faith and Fandom, like literally nobody else. Because Nicky edited book 1.
Number 1. I still show people that. That's still one of my claims to fame. Like, yeah, our new youth pastor, I say new, he's not new anymore, but our new youth pastor at our church, he has your collection in his office. And I was like, hey, pull that first one down real quick. And he was like, why? I was like, just do it. And then he opens up to it. He's like, no way. I was like, yeah.
Here's the thing. This is when all of us were amateurs at everything. I
was a terrible editor.
Hey, you were a first-year English teacher who I handed you a barely English manuscript, and during your first year of teaching said, edit this book for me. So listen,
we made it happen, dude.
By the grace of God go us all, because the fact that we're here at this point, a bajillion years later, on all of the efforts. Because listen, it's just one of those things of like, you edit it and you were the most consistent part of that project. Because there were people who were supposed to have done artwork for that.
I remember those conversations.
Who forgot until the day the book was due.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I did the artwork on the cover for the first book, because the people that I trusted didn't come
but that
through.
artwork wound up being like the staple of the series, though, to be fair. The silhouette, like window pane.
Yeah, it did.
It became like a brand at that point.
For the first 5, that's definitely was the cut of the jib. But
I don't think I've ever heard that saying before.
The cut of the jib?
The cut of the jib.
Definitely not like that, but there's one of the Homestar Runner videos where it's like somebody's from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He's like, oh, not only do I like the cut of your jib, I like the sound of your town. But
oh gosh, we just introduced our youth at our church to Homestar, and they all looked at us like we were dumb, and I was like, you're dumb.
I was on there's a podcast called Rushmore that's like the guests each week name their top 4 of something. And we did Guitar Hero songs, and Trogdor was on mine. And they're like, Trogdor's on Guitar Hero? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, put some respect on his name.
Seriously.
Um, but so you and I have known each other for a vast majority of our life. Yeah, at this point in time, it's like a little. What are you, 32?
34.
I've known you
Yeah.
almost half your life,
Yeah, literally. I was gonna say literally like half my life.
um, and a third of mine, which sucks. Um, but I've known you a good bulk of your life, and so you predate Faith and Fandom, but you've been around for a lot of it. And you started out as an English teacher in the professional world, and then somewhere in there, there's like this dramatic shift where all of a sudden you stopped teaching English and started doing at what at that point in time, from my perspective, was kind of cutting edge of where video and streaming and stuff was going. So, and you were able to walk away from teaching because you got your hands doing something else. Tell us how that whole process went.
Yeah. So it was definitely a story of like God aligning the parts correctly because I've always been like a gamer nerd, period. And like my life was literally like teach, coach wrestling practice, go home, spend time with, the wife, and then when she fell asleep, time to game. Like that was me. I was your typical, what is that age now? Like younger 20s dude. But then when we started having children, we prayed for a long time and we were like, uh, we knew we wanted my wife to stay home. And uh, I don't want to get like into it, but teachers just don't make a lot of money. Like living off of a
No.
teacher's salary is just not an option. Like we were barely making it up when we had two teacher salaries in the house. And now we feel like the Lord was affirming to us that one of us is supposed to drop and stay home. And so obviously we are firm believers in, the Lord's provision, but also of like you also go get your hands dirty. Like you put in the work, you put feet behind your faith. And so I was like, what can I do to bring in extra side hustle? So for like a while, I just did every bit of tutoring I could do. I did every bit of camps, and I don't remember the day that it happened, but like every planning period, and my mind, I'm like borderline like Scarecrow from Batman. Like my mind's just always doing something. People to this day are like, I don't know how you focus when you have like that on your side monitor, or how you can do that when you have music playing, or I just always had something. And for me, it was like video game live streams and stuff like that. And one day while I was sitting in my planning period, I was just like, man, it would be so cool to like work with these guys because I hear them talk about like their team in the background, their graphic people or their whatever. And I was like, man, when you're a wrestling coach or when you're involved in ministry, you're making graphics and like silly videos and junk all the time. Like I know how to edit. I know how to make graphics and all this stuff. And so I just started like dabbing my toes in the water on like having conversations with people in this video game content space. And at this time is like you said, is when it really started blowing up because being like a live video game streamer, it was like such a small corner of the internet. It wasn't like a huge thing yet. And I started just getting these like smaller creators that, were like, oh dude, I've been looking for somebody. I'll pay you $10 a video, and at one point I think I look back and laugh. Now I had like 16 clients that I was doing stuff for to make like an extra $800 a month. And I was just like, that's wild. But I wound up getting a big break. And I remember the first time seeing a single creator pay me, half of a monthly teacher salary to run their YouTube channel. And I was like, wait, there's money like that in this? Like, wait a minute. That's crazy. And I loved it. Like I thrived on it. I absolutely just enjoyed like getting into the space and interacting with the creators and studying what's trending. It's literally like being a youth pastor. Like study what's hip and happening now, turn it into something, put it in front of people and hope they get something from it. Like, but just from a strictly entertainment standpoint. So like I thrived and enjoyed anytime I could studying trends and finding funny moments and adding to it. And like part of that was like being a musician and being obsessed with like audio and just I've always loved production. And so I turned like a little bit of a hobby and then just part of who I was and being a gamer into like a side hustle that exploded because I entered the space when the space exploded. And I don't think I was also kind of older for like freelance editing work in that space. So like what I thought was the norm of just being reliable and meeting deadlines
Was kind of exceptional by
was
everybody
like,
else.
whoa, you're the greatest who ever. Wow, you said you'd have it on Friday and I got it on Thursday. My last guy, I'm still waiting for his third video. Like, and so like my name started getting out there like crazy and the
What was your
workload just
name
kind
out
of
there at that point? Was that
I was Brave Edits at that
yeah.
point
Yeah.
because so that's a funny story too is my gamer tag has since college has been Brave 149 because Brave was my college mascot, 149 was my weight class. But in the gaming space, you're kind of I'll just say it, you're kind of a loser if you have numbers on your name in the Twitch space because it means like, oh, you couldn't go get your brand's username. Like you try your best to come up with something that didn't have to add numbers to it because then you're cool. And I was like, well, I can't do Brave. Obviously, there's an internet browser that's got that locked down. I was like, but I'm the Brave that edits, and I made Brave Edits, and I was so proud of it. I didn't realize that, like I said, I was a baby in the editing space. All the hip and happening editors are whatever edits, and so I just instantly thinking I was doing something a landmarkish was just being a cliche. So, but
Every landmark is eventually a cliche, dude.
that's fair. That's fair. I don't feel so bad anymore. But yeah, the name started getting out there, and I got a big break. So I will say I was like hyper lucky and blessed. I got a big break, and not everybody gets a big break. A lot of people spend years and years grinding. Um, Even if you're not in the Fortnite space, you know what the Fortnite World Cup was. It was the probably still to this day the biggest video game event, at least prize money wise and attendance wise, that ever happened. The MC on the mic is also a streamer. And I was a fan of his because I saw him at World Cup, thought he was like real charismatic, and I just enjoyed watching him. And he wound up hiring me. And there's a whole funny story we could get into that too. But he wound up hiring me. And with all his connections, that was just it. Like I was off to the races. His vouch built me. His name is Monster D Face and or MDF. And his vouch just sent me to the moon as a freelance editor. Like, you got to get my guy Brave on that. You got to get Brave. Oh, I saw you looking for a guy. My guy Brave. Blah, 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 blah. And it allowed me to kind of skip a couple tiers because usually you work with small creators and make a name for yourself in a portfolio. Then some bigger ones kind of like you, but they're not going to pay you what you deserve until you prove yourself. And then you start becoming known as a worth the money, reliable guy. And you get like partnered creators. And then you get to the people who like everybody knows who they are. He instantly put me in the everybody knows who they are category because of the connections he had. So I got to kind of pass go, which is good because, like I said, I was old for an editor, so he gave me a good head start to pass all these.
Narc.
Yeah, literally, dude.
You're just a narc for like Microsoft and
Yeah,
there.
that's right. Infiltrating the. I don't even know. I was gonna make a joke about the generations, but I don't even know what they are. Gen Z, millennial, and all that. I don't even know.
Gen Z, Millennial, Gen X, Alpha. Yeah,
I don't know
there's
what I am. I just know in gaming language, I'm a boomer because I'm considered old in the gaming space.
I'm a Zennial, which is the last branch of millennials that were born between uh episode 4 and episode 6 of Star Wars.
It's a good era.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I feel like at heart I'm there.
I was born after Empire, but before Return of the Jedi. So
So okay. I was gonna say, I mean, you got to be around for the making of the worst of the three, but but a touchy topic. But
that is a touchy topic because people be fighting.
dude,
Um, I just like Star Wars, but hey, it's, whatever.
oh yeah, I'm definitely not the bandwagon guy that's like these new ones are terrible. I'm like, oh, it's a different generations continuation of an amazing story. Just love it, just love it.
So monster face,
Monster Deface. He
monster
was a
deface.
graffiti artist, so defacing things,
Yeah, yeah.
and then just monster sounds cool, I guess. I don't know, but Monster Deface put me on the map.
So how long were you in this before you could tell your wife, "Hey, quit your job"?
It was kind of the other way around. Uh, so she just quit. She just went home. She was like, we prayed about it and it was confirmed. Like we knew it was confirmed, both of us. We went through all the things about it, and she just went and told the principal she's not coming back next year. And I was like, gonna make this work. you know, there's as the man of the house, you have faith in God, but you're also like, okay, what am I gonna do? But like I said, I was working for like pennies on the hour initially until he put me on. And I will never forget it. Jory was at a volleyball game and I had the call with Monster and he was like, yeah, let's do this. He sent me your PayPal. I sent him my PayPal. And I remember because I want to say he started me at like 1,000 a month, which as a teacher, when your mortgage stuff comes out of your check, you're coming home with like where we're at, like $1,200. So like my teacher check at the time was like $1,200. Now, granted, like I said, that included mortgage being taken, whatever. But when just for saying, yeah, I'll make you YouTube videos, which I thought was just like a fun fake career that like nobody really does this. When that money hit my PayPal and when me and Jory both saw it, we were like, this isn't real. This isn't real. And then all of a sudden the gears just started turning. And I was like, I just got to find, two more of these guys. And then, we're in a good spot and we're doing things. So it just became a turn of, look, I make what I make teaching doing this now. And she's like, yeah, but if you lose one of those clients, then we have, a couple $100 a month. So you needed to double it for security. So then I grinded for a year and doubled it. And then she was like, yeah, but and so Jory just kept me pounding until she knew we were in a good place. And I will say, I've definitely spent a lot of time becoming the spiritual leader of my household because Jory, I married a very, very discerned and wise lady. So most days I feel like I'm playing catch up, but um, yeah, it was definitely the other way around of like me being all in and excited and like, man, if I wasn't teaching, I could put so much more time into this and the payout of this is so much better. And her kind of like pumping the brakes, bringing me back down to earth and being like, right, but let's lay the foundation how it needs to be to make sure. Because the whole point of this was to take care of family and do what's best for the children. We don't want to run off on a midlife crisis, like excited career path just because the initial oomph is good, And so,
Well, and on that too, just for the sake of like the hustle that's here, you also in the first XYZ number of years of your marriage had like 43 children.
it's
Like,
true. Yeah, dude. Okay, here's the even funnier part of that me and Jory look back at. For the first 3 years of our marriage, there was only 5 months that someone wasn't living at our house with us because of one friend going through a sloppy relationship, another friend going through an abusive relationship, and then another friend having a career crisis, no place to stay. Uh, there was about 5 months in the first 3 years. And so, people say, y'all did it right. Y'all waited 3 years, enjoyed your marriage together, and then started having kids. And I was like, we didn't have a choice, which might also partially explain why when no one was living with us, we popped out one a year for 4 years.
my go like my you deserve a trophy for this is the fact that y'all managed to have three kids under 3 years old so Jory could take them to Disney when kids under three got free. I was like,
Gotta get the bang for your buck, dude.
that's the gold standard right there, buddy. Um,
We
so
walked up and they regretted making that promotion. They were like, oh, literally. And we've gone every year uh, for the last 4 years.
jeez, bro.
It's been, and we drive. It's so fun.
Yes, as he says convincingly.
We're
Um,
building memories
for therapists.
for
Uh,
therapists.
uh, so it started to take off for you. You got into a place where you were actually like making this a career. You're doing good and it went from you doing this to it becoming a company.
Yeah.
What did that look like? How did that transpire?
So the boom that happened from I mean in the social media space, a vouch is everything. Like literally everything. And the vouch that I got from MDF put me on at such a high level that I had a waiting list. And at one point, I still to this day remember my waiting list hit 42 people who were willing to not hire someone else and wait for me to have availability because that's how much they respected my editing and what these other at that time it was more than just
It,
Monster, but
let's pause for a second. Tell the people what you're editing.
so I was editing at this time. TikTok wasn't really huge, so it wasn't a lot of short form, but essentially YouTube videos. I would take live streams and turn them into YouTube videos, and it was specifically in the space of video games, so like Fortnite, Call of Duty, story games. Sometimes never really got into like role play, which was kind of blowing up at the time. It was annoying. I had a lot of people that wanted me to do their like GTA like role play type stuff. Just never really bought into it, but video game live streams into YouTube videos. Um, and but yeah, the waiting list got so big. I was like, man, I wish I could just like duplicate myself because there's so much, revenue that's just sitting there from a strictly selfish like business point. I was like, there's so much revenue just sitting there. And for me to upkeep the quality that kind of validates what these bigger creators are willing to pay for the product, like I can't take on like 10 people and just like get them good enough. And so I was really, really zoned in on my quality. And I was like, I don't know what to do. So I actually started training some friends how to edit. And then I was like, I can offboard some of the waiting list to them for the ones on the waiting list that'll be content with my stamp of approval as opposed to like me actually doing the work. Like, hey, I've got a friend that works for me that's going to edit it, but I will see it. I will proof it before you get to it. So it'll still be, you know, a Brave approved edit instead of just like letting you sit. And the most of them were so excited to just move past the waiting list that it worked to the point where he had filled up completely and became full time. And so then I did it with another buddy and he became full time. Now I say buddies, these are people I met online in the space. It wasn't until later on down the road I was able to make an IRL friend, our friend Donald, in the same wheelhouse. But it got to where I had like at one point 4 editors online that I knew in the space who I completely filled them. And it was MDF that came back to me because he's also like a business guru. He was like, you should probably make this like a legit thing. you know, he's like, instead of you just managing them in DMs and PayPal, like you should make this a legit thing. And so I went and LLC'd it and got to where we had like 10 editors and my waiting list was drained and there was no waiting list. And I was like, man, I could probably do this for the other things I was talented in that sense. And I say talented in this way. Quick side story. Like I said, I was a rookie getting into this. I had no clue what I was doing. And when I saw you could be a full-time editor, I didn't know that a creator would hire someone to edit the video, then go find someone else to make the thumbnail for the video, then go find someone else to help them come up with the SEO, like the search engine optimization, what to title it and tags. I didn't know like they went to different people for that process. I thought to be a full-time editor, you had to be able to do all of that. So while I was still teaching and kind of learning this, I got certified in Photoshop, in Adobe Illustrator, in After Effects animation, in Premiere. So that was another thing that put me above the class in editing was like I was your one-stop shop, which in this space was unheard of. And so, like I said, when I drained the waiting list for video editing, I was like, I bet I could do this for graphic design too, like thumbnails. And so I started reaching out to on Twitter and stuff and Upwork and Fiverr and got a bunch of really good thumbnail artists. And then we became the place you come to get your thumbnails if you've already got an editor. And we just kept adding like facets of content where we had professionals that were Brave approved that would do the work. And it just blew up and it got almost unmanageable. And I had to go through YouTube business school to turn it into something tangible or manageable, I guess.
And so what was like the branding of the whole conglomerate you were building?
Movmnt Digital, the company, uh, where because it started out that I really wanted to eventually gear it towards like ministry and like creating a movement in the gaming space for the gospel. And that wound up being a very difficult task to walk, especially like when COVID happened and everything that happened in politics. So the initial branding was uh, Movement Digital, and to the public eye, it was more so adopted as just like movement, as in editing and animation and stuff like that. When on the on our internal side, it was that we were, instead of directly voicing our Christian principles and things like that, we were just going to set ourselves apart as the best experience you can have in the space because we have these values. And it, I think God honored the fact that we were really prayerful on how to present ourselves in that way to make an impact. Because even like in the reviews that we saw coming in, they were really affirming and encouraging, because people wouldn't say like, man, these editors are sick, the best editors or the best graphic, you can't get thumbnails like this everywhere. It was always, these are the most genuine people. I left the call with them knowing they truly want us to succeed. Like, it was personal things as opposed to like deliverable quality. And I was like, we're laying down the groundwork here for people to know that we're different for what's the norm in the space. So it took us a long time to come up with the name, but Movement Digital is where we settled because we wanted to kind of shake things up in that regard.
So when you were going through like all your years of teaching credentials and everything else of going through college for that, like, do you look back and feel is that any kind of waste? Was that like, you still look at it like it was still good foundationally? Like, what do you look at that?
I don't see it as a waste, only because I see so many of the benefits that I got from that path. Um, because at the end of the day, like, I wanted to be like a theater kid, and the only reason I switched to like English teaching was was to be able to get a job. Because I was like, I get a degree in musical theater, I either make it big or I go teach theater at a middle school, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, but what got me into doing plays and stuff was literature. Well, that still rolls over into content, telling a story, writing, finding a plot and a conflict, like, it all played into it. And then the other side of that, the teaching side, the demographic is, in gaming, there are niches of older and middle and younger, but to really blow up, social media is predominantly that high school through 5 to 10 years after college age, like that chunk of life. And teaching, going through college and being a part of that, and then teaching high school kids, being involved with that while I was this age in the after college years, it let me cover all the grounds of just understanding the way people think, how people learn differently. Like, why do we have to have a subtitle on screen while he's saying it, and a PNG of the image of what he's talking about, for the different types of differentiated teaching? Like, it all kind of full circle came in. And then also from a Christian standpoint, like, it humbled me a lot to not feel like I had to be the best at something, and I was not the best teacher. so, so it was. I mean,
There's zero shade in this, especially to our community. Not, I don't know that, like, how many of my local folks listen to this, because my audience isn't our community,
yeah.
per se. But it's not. And to be fair, you didn't have the easiest school to be at either.
Oh no, I tell people I was more focused on beat the streets than I was learn Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Um, it was where I needed to be, though, given like where I came from. And especially with me being so focused on like wrestling and wanting to make a change and like turning boys into men kind of thing. Like, I got put in a place where these boys needed a man to look up to, you know what I mean? And so if you ask me about my teaching, like, yeah, I love literature. Most of that came from me studying it in college. as far as the school that I taught at, it was all about character building and straight up ministry. If we're being honest, I can't tell you one like awesome, cool memory outside of like my sick lesson plan to teach the Odyssey. Outside of that, I can't tell you one like content area memory that I have, but I can tell you tons of stories of like impacting kids after breaking up a fight or like stopping a riot and then the kids being thankful and coming to talk to me after school or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe I
So
wasn't a bad teacher. I never had a chance to teach. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like I don't, most people don't really hit their stride in their careers until, a handful of years in, and you never made it that far.
uh,
Like,
eight
not that that's a
years.
bad thing, but
No, I didn't even make it a third of the way to retirement
yeah.
before the shift happened. So not only that, but like I switched to special ed like 5 years in. So like as you know, I started becoming a master or whatever. I was like, never mind, and I went a complete different direction. So I never had a chance to really ever get rooted in. So good thing, huh?
So as movement, uh, as the movement was growing, um, Movement Digital was doing its thing. Uh, how did that capsize? How did that like change gears? Like, what did that transition look like? Or because you're not over movement now.
Right. Just a loyal. I'm an owner. I'm the founder and owner, but I have no hands on anything with it anymore.
What did that process look like?
It was actually fairly recent. Um, so as of when you're in the space, you kind of have to stream just to put a name to the face. Like everybody knew Brave and his work, and they're like, "Oh, of course you like that video. It's one that Brave edited." Like, but you're always like this mysterious being that created things. So most editors, when they try to career it, they want to stream. So I would stream like a couple times a month, just pop in, do whatever. Never really committed to streaming, but a year and a half ago, like I full sent, and I was like, now that I'm you know, fully locked in at home, feeling good. I started streaming, a direct weekly schedule. And it was like not even half a year into streaming where my community got large and I instantly got convicted, hard convicted that I never, like I said, when I introduced the branding of movement, I never continued the goal and making it to where we were a straight Christian company. Um, and then in my content, it was a little more intentional with my streaming. I always call it the Switchfoot method, where if you didn't know Switchfoot was a Christian band, you would think it's just really good love songs and stuff. Because I listened to Switchfoot all growing up, had no clue, got saved, and I was like, wait a minute, you know. So I was in with movement and with my content, I was an ambiguous Christian. Sort of thing. I
Yeah.
was. It was one of those things where like I wanted people to know I was different and to feel like they could trust me and that I genuinely cared about them without it seeming like an act because I gave it a title. Also, we are living in a new era of Pharisee where the Christian title itself automatically, no matter how good you are or genuine you are or how much you are doing things correctly, instantly puts you in a category that puts extreme limits on establishing relationships. You know what I mean? Just because of the cultural shift that we're in currently, mixed with places where the church can do better. So I was like, I don't want to be like in your face Christian. I didn't hide it, never hid it. People would be like, "Hey, can we do community games tonight?" I'm like, "Oh, I got praise and worship practice tonight." Like, "Oh, guys, the Bible study the other day was sick. Let me tell you something." Like that kind of stuff happened, but I was never like, "I'm a Christian dude," and this, that, and the other. And I started getting convicted. And so I actually started a Bible study in my community that did good. And I thought that was going to be it. Like, conviction gone. Yeah, I started a Bible study. And the Lord was like, dude, you got this monster of a company over here that is doing nothing for me. Like, I allowed you to grow it to this point because there was this idea that you would do this with it. And at that point, it was such a monster that I didn't see a way to pivot it or turn it. So I decided to start over. And so I kind of handed the reins over. And I was like, I went through building this company to learn what it's like because we are now in a new era of uh like interpersonal communication and social like life, and it's that digital space. And I built this company from a teacher making dirt editing YouTube videos for pennies on the hour to now being Ninja's editor and having a multi-million company, like literally both ends of the spectrum, so that I could fully understand it inside and out, and then take what I learned from that and apply it to, all right, how can we use what you know to reach the lost in this digital world that is now, it's like the meta world that people talk about. This it's like two worlds. We have our physical tangible world and this meta digital world. How can I use it to be an effective evangelist in the digital world and help churches to you our my new tagline is social media is a ministry, not a bulletin board. And how can I help churches to grow with the point of online uh evangelism? And so yeah, I essentially I didn't step away because like I still have a monthly meeting, check on things, but I am not a turning gear in movement anymore, and I am starting over completely with FostLink, which is essentially going to be the exact same thing Movement does, with just deliberate intention that it's for the church or for Christian creators whose goal is to grow online and spread the gospel. And I'm no longer convicted because even on stream now, I'm overtly Christian, and people come and ask for prayer, and I will pause my game. You can't pause games anymore, but
You're
I
like,
will
leave me
stop my game
alone,
and pray.
Jesus. I'll do it.
Literally. Okay, fine. Dude, if you want to get in the nitty gritty of it, there's some testimony in making this decision. Um, I know I talk a lot, and the editor's gonna have a lot to
He's not
sift
gonna.
through.
He's not. The editor's not gonna have to do a lot, dude. You're good.
Okay. Well, the real fact of the matter is, when I got convicted, I put it off and put it off because we had goals like pay off this debt, fix these things on the house, get the kids' college funds to this amount. Cause I mean, I was making good money. And I was like, well, yeah, we'll fix that once this happens, even to the point of like pausing on tithes. You know what I mean? Like, let's get these life things fixed, not fixed, but like progress to a point, and then we're going to make this big shift. And so things just started going wrong, like we got to where we went to the roommate stage as a married couple, and we were just lifing. And then I started losing clients, but for no bad reason. Like, hey, you've grown us from 5 followers to 50,000. That's amazing. So we decided to hire an in-house team because it's such a big thing. We feel like we shouldn't be contracting anymore. And I'm like, that means I literally did my job so good that you fired me. And that happened like to our 5 biggest clients. And I was like, what is happening? And then I was at a banquet filming, and I mean, we ran the full thing for the banquet, and the guest speaker, and now I'm drawing a blank, but it's the NFL player who was the highest paid offensive lineman at the time, who bought a mansion and all these cars, and him and his wife moved to Baltimore. He played for the Ravens, and like I said, he had the biggest contract for an offensive line, and he gave it all away because God came to him in a dream and said, "Feed my people," and he became a farmer. I don't know if you know that story or not, but
Yeah.
he gave it all up and became a farmer, and now he has the biggest food pantry ministry. His family's thriving, and I'm sitting there behind the camera, like accidentally missing recording him because I'm like, okay, God, like I hear you. Okay, get off your hill. I'm literally at work making money, saying, "Hold on, God," and he puts a speaker in front of me saying, "Give up your riches because I have something better." And I've been putting it off for, at this point, it was like 6 months. I came home and I told Jory, I was like, either I do it or he's gonna blow it up. I was like, either I do it or he's gonna blow it to smithereens. And then with that goes the rest of it, because my reputation and everything, like, we can either do this the right way or he's going to do it and it's going to hurt real bad. And so that next day I started offboarding, and over a course of 2 weeks, you know, we might, I always tell the joke, I've never been more afraid in my life, but more certain in my life about a decision. And watching our income drop to being, literally 30% of what it was to make the decision, terrifying. But like I said, never been more afraid, but more certain. And he's already been showing up. That was about 4 months ago. We made that decision. and he's already been showing up in the last 4 months with some opportunities and some things that have happened. So that was the shift from Movement to now I'm just back to being Nicky, the evangelist who streams and helps churches
with
make
Fosslink.
sense with Fosslink. Yeah. Churches make sense in this world, you know?
Well, and one of the things too, and I again because you and I, there's an age difference, but it's not like vast.
Right.
But the
You're
amount
also
of,
the age of my siblings too, so it seems even smaller. You know what I mean?
yeah, but the amount of life understanding and experience in that little gap of 10, 12 years is a huge amount
Yeah.
because you're in different worlds. And not that you can't be my age in it, but like if you're not organically in some of these worlds, then like listen, the idea of streaming was not or watching streamers was never in my purview.
Right.
Like that was never like something I thought to do. Like streaming, like I've got one of my best friends from high school, dude, who was the best man at my wedding. He streams constantly. That's what he does now. Um, but like it was not something I would have thought of.
Right.
Um, and even like there's a ministry space called Checkpoint Church, which is an all online church that does Discord and streaming and stuff like that. And it's just like everybody's not going to get everything, but
Right.
there's got to be people that are helping create those spaces because, like, listen, the people that produce this and that work with me, like, I was literally the senior citizen that was struggling to get Discord. They're like, they're like,
Um, is it bad that when you told me that we wanted to do this, my mind was instantly like, I don't know if I have him on Discord. I was like, oh wait, it's Hector. He's gonna send a Zoom link.
right?
Literally, I was like, he's gonna send a Zoom link. We're good.
Yep. And but that's the thing. I have a Discord. I have a login. I know sort of where to go.
Oh, that burns. Oh,
But
I'm
do I
glad,
know?
glad you
Do
have a login.
Yeah, but do I know what I'm doing? No. Do I
Not at
know how to
all.
like there's so many notifications I've gotten just in the last month
You
that
know how
I'm
to
like,
use Reddit, right? That's an old app. Come on, you know Reddit.
I know it exists.
Okay, never mind. I was gonna say just combine Reddit with Skype, and you got Discord.
I never touched Reddit either, bro. See?
The Facebook King has spoken. Literally, dude. Oh man.
Like we all have our different things and you have helped prepare a world for people that connect in different ways because there's going to be people that are going to connect in areas that you're helping develop that aren't going to connect anywhere else or in the same ways.
Yeah.
Um, so I know what you're doing is valuable and valid. Um, Also, too, you had some Lego stuff go down. Tell
Yeah.
me about that. Like, what was that experience?
Dude, I still have imposter syndrome. Like when I get asked about it, I don't know what to say. When I was freed up from being so hands-on with movement, like I said, I got to where I was like, the best way I could put it is I made a catchphrase that I would say is like, I've spent the last 4 years helping your favorite creator be who they are. This year, I want to try to be your favorite creator. That was my goal for the year. And I told everybody, I'm just going to do it consistent for a year and see what happens. And I didn't know what I wanted to stream, but the day after I made that decision, Lego Fortnite came out. And I was like, I'm a Lego guy. Like all growing up, I was obsessed with Lego. And Fortnite's been my main game for a while. I have my solo games that I play, and then like Fortnite's what I play with the homies and everything else. So when Lego Fortnite came out, it was like perfect. I was like, cool. Tomorrow I'll stream Lego Fortnite. And I just got to where I fell in love with it. And I started just playing it every other day or whatever. And then my community, I found a couple like it's essentially Minecraft with way more beautiful graphics and stuff. But it's I found a couple like cool ways you could use the pieces and stuff. And people were in my chat all the time saying, "Oh, you should post that." I was like, I don't post. I have a TikTok so I can manage other people. I've never posted on YouTube. I've been in this space for 4 to 5 years. I keep referring back to it because it's just such a big accomplishment. But like I'm Ninja's editor, and I've literally never posted anything myself ever. Like on my branded channels. My Twitter, sure, but like outside of that, nothing. They're like, just post it. And I just, fine, fine. And I posted it and it got like 250,000 views. And I was like, wait a minute. So the next day I posted again and I got to where I was averaging like 6-figure views on a TikTok and a YouTube that had like less than 10 followers and stuff. And then I realized, holy crap, I teach my creators about this. I beat the niche. Like I'm here before the niche is developed. And so I just started dumping into it. And 6 months later, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers across all platforms for this Lego stuff, to the point that the Lego group themselves from Denmark reached out to me and wanted me to be, they've never done UGC, user generated content before. They've always just been super old school. And they decided the culture is shifting. There's a digital world, digital space. We need creators and partners. And so they've never had partners before. You've seen over the last 2 decades, there's been YouTubers who their whole brand is building Lego, but they have no actual affiliation with Lego. Lego never did affiliate links, none of that ever. They officially decided to start doing it this past year. And I was one of the first 5 creators that they ever partnered as a Lego partner. And I literally pooped my pants. I was like, what do you mean me? There's like, I can name you 12 YouTube channels of over 10 million subscriber, whatever. And they're like, yeah, but people, when the word Lego is said online, your name comes after it. When the word Lego Fortnite is said online, your name comes after it. And they reached out to me and they flew me and Jory out to get a full behind closed doors like setting in Bulletin, Denmark, where it's 10 degrees and food is very strange, but the tour was sick. And we got all this behind this. And I was like, I had a door with a star in my name. I was like, this is, who am I? I'm literally, a year ago, I had not been a streamer or a content creator or nothing. And it just all happened so fast. So I guess it's like the second time where I just got a big break. I don't want to take away from like, we worked hard as a family to stay consistent and post every day and whatever, but like it just blew up, man, out of nowhere. And just by staying consistent with the blow up, you just kind of keep it barrel rolling. And then of course Fortnite, they already knew who I was because I was in contact with them so much, managing creators, that when my Lego blew up, they were like, "Oh, it brings us so much joy that we can now bring you in as a epic partner." Because before we had no way to justify, like, yeah, sure, you manage all these creators and all of them are epic partners, but like, why would we partner you? You don't post. They were like so pumped to say, like, boom. So now some streamers' goal in their entire career is to become an epic partner. And then it was always a goal to become a Lego partner, but it wasn't a thing. And in the same like 6 to 8 month span, I hit both of them. And now it's like solidified, like, okay, this is something that I do now career wise too. And so like my literal 3 careers is trying to grow Fosslink, which makes absolutely zero money right now, but the Lord's either going to increase the income or decrease the need. And then there's my content, which is the Lego and Lego Fortnite stuff. And then there's the freelance editing, because I do still edit for Ninja. I kept that one. I'm not getting rid of that one. We'll keep that guy for as long as he'll let me. But it just happened, Hector. Like in the same way MDF hired me, and it was just like, what? No way. I remember getting that email from Lego and being like, instantly thought it was spam, like fake. I'm not clicking this link. And then they emailed again. And then finally I got a message on WhatsApp. I didn't even know I had the app on my phone. And I like looked into it and it was legit. And I was like, so sorry I didn't respond to you sooner. Yeah, dude, I would love to set up a meeting.
Yeah, WhatsApp. You're gonna get a WhatsApp message from Lego, and that's totally legit. Like, what on earth?
I didn't think it was. It was legit. It was legit because in Denmark, they don't have cell towers. They use WhatsApp for texting and calling. So it was actually legit. I was like, this is the sketchiest thing I've ever seen. And yeah, it was Lego. And even like I said, even in this, I mean, I'm a Facebook ad or a Facebook. I'm a Lego TikTok ad right now that is like at 20 million views. And like I'll be scrolling, and even on my own TikTok, my ad will come up and I'm like, oh, and I just like scroll past it. But it's like, who to me, I'm still Nicky. So I'm just like, who is this? Or I'll go into like a chat of a live stream and the streamer freaks out that I'm in their chat. Like, is that the real Brave? And I'm like, wait, am I at the point where there's like people that make fake accounts of me and stuff? Like, You know what I mean? It's just imposter syndrome. Like you said, your daughter being off at, you know, pre-college. Well, I don't even know what you call that. Being off at
Muggle Hogwarts.
Mogul. Yeah, perfect. I love it. But her being off there and being like, yeah, these people were scrolling and saw Nicky, and I was like, I know him. Like, what is that? I always
That's
thought if that were to happen, it would be in music. You know what I
right. I
mean?
could see that because I remember, like, just for the record, for y'all that are, you know, mentioned that I've known Nikki for like spans of time. I've been through multiple bands
A lot of them.
and music careers and all the things.
Some of them did well, some of them did not.
I my here's how like consistent it is though. The one longboard I own still has your band sticker on it.
The fire set sticker.
Yes. The fire set sticker is still on my
Let's
longboard.
go, dude. That was one of my favorite ones, too. Oh gosh, that was the Mumford era, dude.
Dude, I love listen, when we were
That was a
doing
good era.
college worship when like blending Mumford songs into it, it was
Yes, dude.
uh
Oh,
which by the way, Mumford's new album is maybe their third best.
yeah. I haven't
They
heard it yet.
it's called Rushmere.
Okay.
Um and it's definitely up there with Sino More, Babel, and then this would be right next, if not above Babel. So
Oof, that's a big
uh,
statement.
it's a big statement, but there's a song called The Truth, and there's a handful of others that are just baller on there. But like Give the Truth by
Okay,
Mumford a listen.
I will.
But that's the thing, like the when I met you was when the first Mumford album came out, because that was
Yeah,
2009. Um,
and that was like a identity changing album. I'm not gonna lie.
oh yeah.
Like up to that point, I was like dabbling in folk, but like I liked my rock music and my like funk hip hop. And then that Mumford came out, and I changed my whole identity. Like I have never allowed a beanie to go so far onto the back of my head, and I've never bought more flannels in my life, dude. And then
Well,
Lumineers came out and ruined everything, but luckily it was, you know,
so
Judah and the Lion came and restored faith in humanity.
so the just the generational differences for me, that shift was Caedmon's Call, which was like
Oh, so good though.
a
Yeah.
Christian, yeah, band from previous, but I was like, that was the no, I'm on the Supertones at Five Iron Frenzy,
Yeah,
and then hit
dude.
Caedmon's Call, and I'm like, oh,
This is who I am now.
I was like, oh, I own 43 acoustic guitars. Um, which by the way, um, Brendan Johnson, who's
Mhm.
also been on the podcast, but you and I know him both to separate or jointly, um,
Mutually.
mutually, yeah, all the things. He's DMing the first Dungeons and Dragons campaign I've ever done, and
How do you
my
like it?
it's great, it's wonderful. But he's moving like next week, so he's like to Texas.
How are y'all
Um,
gonna virtual keep it up at least?
that's a plan.
Oh, see, that's
Um,
so sad.
But like the in person is like what's been fire because we're meeting at the local coffee shop and we're doing it there. We're doing all the things.
Yeah.
But my my dwarven paladin character is named Caedmon.
After Kevin.
And nobody in my D&D group has any clue, but I'm just like,
I love that so much, dude. You have no idea.
but he's like, and I've been taking notes through our whole D&D campaign, and I'm going to novelize the story that we've done.
Dude, the
Like,
narratives that come out of those, we have an online group that plays, and dude, sometimes the narratives that come out of those are like, okay, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say they could keep up with the Hobbit. Let's not get crazy, but they're freaking good, dude.
that yeah, there's some good stuff that can happen. So what what advice would you give someone who has like a desire or a plan to create, but not exactly a direction?
Mm, that's tough because it's such a open world. But honestly, like two things. You definitely got to find your passion in it because there's so many different ways that you can go about it. It will quickly become work. So find your passion in it. And that's the beautiful thing about the creation world is it could be literally anything. So like make sure you find your passion in it. Don't just be like, oh, this is what's hot now, so I'm gonna start doing this, or like, oh, it's TikTok, so I should be dancing. Like find your passion and like send it because that'll come through. And then the other thing is like, I don't know how to say it nicely. Just don't be stupid. Just don't be stupid.
Elaborate, please go on.
Yeah. Well, one, you have to like do your research and understand that there's certain parts of the creator space because you're talking about like wants to like make a career out of it or like full send do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's certain parts that have longevity and certain parts that don't. There's certain things that bring in a big whopping paycheck once and then you never see that kind of money again. Or and so you have to kind of just be smart. Like me, like one thing me and Jory put in place was like no matter how much money we make a month, we never allowed ourselves to see more than this amount. Like this was what our family made ever. Like and the viewers don't know Jory, but you know Jory. She is the most like to the T math budget like
Just so you understand this woman's math passion, she had math kids in college,
she did.
like
She
with
did.
like with legit equations. I'm like, "What's on your shoe?" She's like, "Math. I love it." And I'm like, okay.
How are we friends? Yeah, dude. And so like be don't be stupid. Like even down to I have always treated it like a 9 to 5. Like even since being at home, I have office hours of what 9 to 4, but 9 to 4, 9 to 5. Like I gave myself my and there's a bunch of friends that I've actually made full time in this that kind of were like, woo, I work for myself. I can, sleep in, go to the gym, get up, get my video in as long as it's in by midnight, blah, blah, blah. Whereas for me, I was like having a set schedule. So like with your money, with all of that, don't abandon that because it's such a creative space. That makes sense. Give yourself some systems and mechanical things. So one, find your passion because it will feel like work. And two, treat it like work so that it can have longevity and you can continue doing that passion as long as possible.
Uh,
Like the most
if
boring, unfun answer I've ever given in my life, but that's the fact of the
No,
matter.
that's great answer. If you wanted people to check out what you do, where would you send them?
Oh, I mean, any social media at Brave Builds, which is my new name now that I'm a Lego person. I finally switched from Brave Edits after being Brave Edits for 6 years. I switched to Brave Builds when Lego called. But yeah, at Brave Builds on all socials, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. My live streams are on Twitch. I mean, I live stream on all three, but my home is Twitch. Like that's if you go to TikTok, I might have, 50 viewers. If you go to YouTube, I might have 10. If you go to Twitch, that's where you have the hundreds of people just excited to watch. But then for posted content, I post everywhere. So just at Brave Builds anywhere.
Okay, and if you had any last advice for or anything you'd want anyone to know, what would you tell them?
Man, God is good and he's got you. I think the roller coaster of what my life has been. We opened this up by talking about how we felt like it was such a long period of time that we've known each other, but it's only this little bit. But think of the phases that we've been through. Being an all-star wrestler may never walk again.
Zombie bone leg thing.
Zombie bone leg might lose your leg. Uh, uh,
Teeth giving you a heart attack.
literally died in a waiting room, resuscitated behind the curtain, like all of that stuff. Campus ministry, uh, relationships. All right, graduated, career, never mind, not that career. Like so many different. You went to my college graduation. You literally did my wedding. Like minister was the minister of my wedding. Came to my pastoral ordination. Like
Heard your
we've
first sermon.
heard my first sermon. And so it's like I have been 12 people in the last 10 years, and all of them have had crash and burns and super high highs. But the one thing that's been consistent through them is like he is there, and he is loving, and he has a purpose in it. And even in the moments when I doubt him, he shows up bigger than I could ever imagine. So before you find your passion and before you treat it like work, make sure that you're doing it with the intention to glorify God, because that is the only thing worth getting a payout for. I don't care. Me and Jory, literally, when we had that big income decrease, we made the joke together. We were like, we will live in an RV with these 4 children eating ramen noodles if it brings people to Jesus. And it took us a long time to get to that place. And so if I could help people skip past, go and just be in that place, it'll make all of it a lot easier. And it's made content and stuff more fun, just because, like, when my numbers are down or when views are down or whatever, it's like, who cares? You know what I mean? I know that God had a good time today because we were talking about him the whole time with those low numbers or whatever, whatever. So my advice would be, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, because he's there and he's been good to you. So
Awesome. Well, Nikki, thank you for your time. And I told you an hour, so I'm going to try and keep to that. But thank you for sharing, dude. It's been good just to talk to you. We live like 3 miles away and like never see each other because
if you look at our text thread, it's just like, hey, do you have one of these? Yeah. Okay, sick. Be there in a minute. Like, it's just literally
then
like
4 years later.
You got an aux cord, dude? Yeah, I got one.
It's that. But it's just one of those things of where life is. But like it's been good to talk to you, and I'm glad to see how God's moving in you. And we're always supporting your family and praying for you guys, and it's just cool to sit back and get to listen to it. And I hope
Yeah.
that y'all that got to listen or watch this enjoyed it and are encouraged. And make sure you check out Nikki at Brave Builds on all the things. Brave Builds at myspace.com.
Imagine. Maybe
Blo-
don't search for me there.
yeah, Blogspot. Yes,
Oh, God.
Yes,
Jeez, dude.
you
The
said
fact that I
everywhere, bro.
know them,
Yeah. Listen. I was around you when Facebook became like public. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, when it was in the early years. Um, yeah.
Now it's a career.
Now it's a career. Yeah, isn't that fun? Um, I spent I spend half of my day taking photos and making flyers for Facebook for the college, and then just waiting for someone to approve posting it.
Dude,
That's
my favorite thing is when people when when people ask Jory, so what did your husband do? And she's just like, uh, um, which where did you see him at? And I'll answer that part. It's like, did you see him on this podcast talking about being an editor? Did you see one of his Lego videos? And so she's always like, he's a social media marketer. Like, she doesn't, like, what do you say? So
yeah.
when somebody says, hey, what does Hector do for a living? The easy part, well, he's a pastor, but he's bivocational, and he also travels the world telling people about how superheroes are nothing compared to Jesus. Like, what do you say to that? Like, what does Hector do for a living? Everything.
I'm a purveyor of good stories.
Allegory. Allegory.
Allegory. Gotta say it like you're speaking French. All right.
Allegory.
Allegory. Uh,
We're
uh,
so sick.
all right. Thank y'all for taking the time to watch, to listen. Check out Nikki at Brave Builds everywhere. Thank you for checking this out here on the Love Thy Nerd Podcast Network. Remember, you can find a lot of other great content there through Love Thy Nerd and the Glue Network, YouTube, all the things. I think ours is youtube.com/Faith and Fandom LTN for this channel. But thank y'all for listening, and I hope you have a great day.